Want a podcast? Kia ora, I'm Maxine, podcast producer, audio nerd, and founder of Maxine London Creative. Let's explore what it takes to start and maintain a successful podcast. I'll chat with industry experts, podcast hosts, and fellow audio nerds on everything about the wonderful world of podcasting. We'll talk techniques, trends, and top tips to get you started on your podcast journey. Whether you're a podcast newbie or you've been here a while, welcome. Want a podcast? In 2018, Drake's God's Plan blasted on the radio. Black Panther hit the cinemas, Kendrick Lamar won a Pulitzer, K-pop went truly global, we witnessed the wedding of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, and somewhere in a New York City apartment, podcast history was being written. Alexandra Cooper and Sophia Franklin launched Call Her Daddy, the podcast that quickly became a global sensation and has since earned millions. Today, we are diving into the rise of Call Her Daddy, the podcast that went from raunchy, unfiltered show to a $125 million media empire. We'll unpack how Alex Cooper built one of the most successful and loyal audiences in podcasting, evolved her content while staying true to her voice, and turned bold honesty and big sister energy into a brand that spans sold-out tours, viral clips, and global recognition. So whether you're a podcaster, marketer, or just fascinated by modern media powerhouses, this episode is packed with insight into how a niche podcast became a cultural phenomenon. In its first 2 months, the podcast absolutely exploded. It jumped from $12,000 to $2 million. This viral growth attracted Barstool Sports, which in late 2018 signed Alex and Sophia on a 3-year deal to produce Call Her Daddy as part of its network. The show's raw humor and frank female perspective quickly gained the title of the #1 podcast for women on Spotify, and Time magazine argued that Alex was the most successful woman in podcasting. But in 2020, tension over pay and creative control built between Alex and Sophia, and in March of that year, their last co-hosted episode aired and a social media feud went viral. Then COVID hit, and Alex returned home to her parents' garage to host her first solo episodes. And it's here that she really dug deep into her Instagram community, and her daddy gang was born. She didn't just engage with her people. She became like an older sister. She would personally message and counsel people through breakups and stories of cheating, and she said to Time magazine, "I would have loved to have someone do that for me in high school or college." Then in 2021, Alex signed a $60 million deal with Spotify. This made Alex the highest paid new podcaster. Under Spotify, the podcast remained free for listeners. The content evolved from sexual humor, which, don't worry, is still a big element of the podcast, to tackling stories of mental health, women's rights, and empowerment. Then by 2022, Call Her Daddy was the #2 podcast overall on the podcast charts and #1 for female audiences. In 2023, Alex launched the Unwell Network, a Gen Z lifestyle podcast network under the Trending Media banner. In 2024, Alex signed a $125 million deal with SiriusXM, which made Call Her Daddy its flagship exclusive. Now, over the years, Call Her Daddy has been a consistently top-charting show and cultural phenomenon. Its audience includes millions of daddy gang who feel a personal connection with Alex and see her as a big sister. This brand has expanded into merch and sold-out tours, and there's even a documentary series out on Disney Plus called Call Her Alex. Today, Call Her Daddy stands as one of podcast's biggest female-led success stories, leveraging early virality into a multimedia empire. How did she do it? Let's take a closer look. Now, Alex Cooper's on-air personality is unfiltered, playful, and totally relatable. And this has been central to her rapid rise. Global media outlets have said that she exudes this big sister energy, and her daddy gang feel like they're getting personal advice, and often they are. Alex cultivated this personal connection and closeness with her audience because she engages with them directly. And as I mentioned before, she's known to personally DM with them and give them personal advice based on what they're facing. If this doesn't scream cool big sister, I don't know what does. And for an audience the size of her, this is so impressive. Each member of the Daddy Gang feel like they can totally relate to Alex on a personal level. For reference, Alex's Instagram account has 3.6 million followers and her Call Her Daddy account has 3 million. Sure, there'll be a lot of crossover here between followers, but that's 6.6 million followers combined. She's brutally honest. She's not afraid to hold back on topics that have previously been taboo. SiriusXM say that Alex's fearless, unfiltered approach, where no topic is off the table, has created a passionate fan base. She makes her listeners feel empowered, informed, uplifted, and entertained. Now, Alex Cooper is actually one of my favorite interviewers, and this is for 3 reasons. 1, she's prepared. 2, she's conversational. And 3, she is an expert at creating a safe space for her guests to be open and vulnerable. She puts a great deal of attention into actively listening and responding. She allows them to relax, and she says that she wants her guests to feel like they're sitting in her living room, catching up with a friend. She's very prepared. She knows which stories she wants her guests to share, but she also welcomes an off-track tangents that are meaningful and can create value for the audience. It can feel quite daunting letting your guests veer off track, but this is often where the golden moments lie. Alex keeps her episodes very tightly edited, ensuring that every moment is saturated with content that maintains the energy. And this carefully considered pacing keeps the listeners engaged while letting guests relax and feel comfortable to have this open conversation. Alex's style has evolved a bit with her brand. After her Spotify deal, she eased up a bit on the sex jokes and started having more impactful discussions around topics like mental health. She embraces female empowerment and chooses guests based on the stories that they can bring to make her audiences feel something. She speaks openly about her own therapy, depression, and mental well-being, and aims to shatter stigmas around topics like sex and women's issues. The combo of raunchy humor, which she's known for, and sincere vulnerability make her stand out, and her audience love her for it. Another key to her approach is her authenticity with sponsors. Alex insists on approving all ad reads and only partners with brands that fit her image. She treats ads as part of the show's voice, which is crucial for her brand, the sponsor, as the ad will be more effective if her audience can trust it, and her audience. Now, if her listeners can trust that all of the sponsored content has been personally approved by Alex herself, they know that the products must be good. If she randomly started sharing ads that weren't even relevant for her listeners, this would break this trust. Alex uniformly reads podcast ads herself, blending promotion into her authentic voice. So for example, if she promotes a lifestyle or like a beauty brand, she does it as if she's joking around with a friend rather than a corporate pitch. This consistency preserves listener trust and it turns the ads into entertainment. Her tone is approachable, colloquial, and empowering, which directly relates to her audience, and she speaks their language. You know, whether she's joking about a fling on Instagram or emphasizing a rough breakup, she is speaking in the language that her audience speaks with a friend or an older sister. She has created such a loyal and engaged following through her blend of respect and honesty and her constant audience connection. Now let's dig deeper into that. Let's dig deeper into how she built her Daddy Gang community. Alex deliberately cultivated an interactive online space across multiple platforms. She has embraced the Daddy Gang label, which gives her listeners a sense of identity and belonging, and her social media strategy is an absolute case study in engagement. She regularly posts Q&As and question of the day polls, which encourages her listeners to share their personal stories and then vote on relationship dilemmas. Alex also personally responds to comments and shouts out fan art and memes and humanizes the brand, which makes her followers feel really seen. She even interacts during emergencies. Time reports that she once helped a listener escape an abusive partner in real time via DM. This level of personal connection is really rare, and it transforms your listeners into devotees. Alex cross-promotes her episodes by posting clips or snippets across multiple platforms like Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. TikTok has become a key channel for Kulu Daddy. She has millions of followers and her snippets from episodes go viral. Now, these bite-sized episode teasers bring in new listeners. They act as like a shop front, inviting followers to go and see and listen and watch for more. She also posts snippets and short clips to YouTube, and the visual element really adds to the conversation, but it also furthers the reach and allows listeners to feel more like they're part of the conversation. Now, on top of this, Alex has a merchandise line. She sells hoodies, hats, tees, and other clothing with various Daddy Gang slogans. And this not only makes her Daddy Gang feel like more of a club, but it's a conversation starter, which then extends her reach even further. This merch goes beyond fashion. It's a badge of shared experiences and jokes, reinforcing the camaraderie between listeners. Now, Alex is constantly bringing her fans along for the ride. Whether it's major announcements or personal life updates, the Daddy Gang is right there with her. And what this tells us as podcasters is that consistent, authentic engagement builds a movement. Now, by using interactive polls, behind-the-scenes content, and community catchphrases like Daddy Gang, she keeps her fans excited and involved between the episodes. Now let's talk about strategy, because if you have seen Alex's documentary, Call Her Alex, or followed the podcast for a little while, you will know that Alex's approach to podcasting seems casual and easygoing, but there is a whole deal of strategy that goes into every single thing that she does. For starters, her format and distribution has been used intentionally to accelerate growth. From the very beginning, she had a clear niche, a frank female perspective on sex and relationships, which has filled a gap in podcasting. Her content is tightly produced and edited, and everything that she does is intentional. Episodes are typically no longer than an hour, which means that every second is full of engaging content. This keeps listeners hooked from joke to advice. And as we touched on before, her evolution into more dense topics beyond sex consciously broadened her audience. It's kept her content fresh and engaging without losing any integrity. Now, in terms of distribution, she went exclusive at the right time. By partnering with Barstool in 2018, this gave Call Her Daddy the corporate backing and initial marketing push that it needed. And then the landmark Spotify deal in 2021 leaned on a larger industry trend to land big-name podcasters. At the time, Spotify was aggressively chasing creators, and Alex brought a huge female listenership to the platform. Call Her Daddy became a flagship show, featuring on Spotify's homepage and curated playlists. Her recent move to SiriusXM is now extending her reach even further into new demographics, including radio and podcast subscription listeners. The payoffs have been massive. Exclusive deals not only validated Call Her Daddy's worth, but gave her the opportunity to expand, which we can also see with the launch of the Unwell Network. Targeting young women who have for a long time been an underserved demographic among comedy podcasts, focusing on building her online audience and using merch and the Unwell Network to diversify and extend her reach have all been carefully considered decisions that ultimately have led to the huge success of Alex Cooper and Call Her Daddy. Yes, there have been some missteps along the way, like her online feud with her ex-co-host, Sophia. Her Unwell Network has also recently faced a little bit of critique too, based on the lack of diversity among its initial hosts. So it is important to note that branding efforts must be aligned with community values. Alex Cooper's podcast journey shows that the power of having a clearly defined niche, authenticity, and multi-platform promotional plan can have. Creating shareable content like memes and clips, leaning into trending topics, and owning your brand voice, these all drive growth. And exclusive distribution deals can supercharge scale if you have a proven audience, but only if you remain true to your style. Finally, investing in community building like merch, events, direct fan interaction. This turns listeners into evangelists. Alex's blend of bold content with careful marketing offers a blueprint. Lead with your unique voice, then amplify it through every available channel. So, whether you love Call Her Daddy, can't stand it, or sit somewhere in between, there is no denying that Alex Cooper has absolutely changed the game. From taboo topics to mainstream media deals, she has shown that podcasting power comes from owning your voice, understanding your audience, and knowing exactly what you bring to the mic. If you enjoyed this deep dive, I'd love it if you'd share this episode with a fellow podcaster or creator. And if you are building your own show and want support in making it sound, look, and feel next level, you know where to find me. Thanks for listening to Wanna Podcast. If you got something out of this episode, give it some love. Subscribe, follow, share it with your friends, or leave a review. It all helps to get this podcast into the ears of those who need it. If you're keen to connect, check out Wanna Podcast or Maxine London Creative on Instagram, or head to maxineLondonCreative.co.nz. Check out the show notes for links. Thanks again for being part of my community. See you next time.